I'm here at Mountain View at a very special event with a very special guest on tech today. Samat, what a pleasure to have you on the show.
Good to see you.
Fantastic keynote.
Thank you.
Mega announcements from the Pixel lineup, but this was all about Android and integrating AI into the ecosystem. And you're no stranger to that, the big boss at Android. Tell me something, Samir, when you look at something this big, made by Google, and then you figure out that the biggest, most popular, the largest operating system happens to be Android, and everyone in India, most of us use it in some form or the other. How do you really change your approach for different markets?
Well, first of all, it's great to see you. Second, I think that one of the things that we've been very humbled by is that India has embraced Android.
Right.
And so that's been wonderful. I think one of the things that's so great about the users in India is that they are at the cutting edge.
Right.
Actually, voice search has some of the highest level of engagement of any country in India. And so when we think about AI and the way to interact with your phone,
right,
with your natural voice, we think that's a perfect match. So we're super excited about that. Actually, the Gemini Assistant that we've just rolled out already supports 40 languages, actually 9 Indian languages, including Hindi, Telugu, Tamil, and more.
It's interesting that you mentioned what Gemini is doing, but this time we've seen what's happening not too far from here with Apple Intelligence. That's something that's coming up as well, but Google's approach is different. And I think Gemini, with Google's search prowess from before and what you guys have been doing, is fascinating to see how AI is being integrated into the ecosystem. But Android is not just about Pixel devices. It's not just about Samsung devices. It's also about so many other OEMs who use Android, the open source nature of it. Do you think that that sort of Gemini integration is needed across when we're talking about a lot of smartphone brands in India, perhaps, that use Android? Is that something that needs to come as a stock feature, as well integrated as it does with Pixel devices?
Absolutely. And one of the things that we're really excited about with Gemini is that it's not just for the phones that we make at Google. We're actually rolling out everything you saw today, not just on Pixel devices, but also on the rest of the Android ecosystem, including Samsung, OnePlus devices, and many, many more. So that's super exciting.
No, it's fascinating that while Google is really pushing Gemini across all of these devices, are there features you think perhaps that with Gemini Pro on one end, then you also have Gemini Live that you spoke about today, but what about budget smartphones? Are there things from Gemini, from the flagships that we can see trickle down to some of the inexpensive phones?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the advantages of Google having invested in AI for more than a decade is that we have capabilities not just to run on device for the flagships with the latest processors, but also in the cloud. And so one of the things I'm very excited about is that the Gemini Assistant has actually not just rolled out on flagships, but is rolled out on many other devices as well, lower in the line. And so that means that we can truly focus on bringing AI to everyone.
So AI to everyone is something we've heard out here, even down the road at Cupertino. AI for the rest of us. How important is it for this AI revolution to be inclusive, to be democratic? More importantly, Google's always been the flag bearer of openness and open source. Now we've seen even a company like Apple integrating ChatGPT into their AI vision, maybe even Gemini in the future. Is that the future for the world of AI? Is that the future for the AI revolution? Openness and open source.
Well, I think open source is very important, but I think what consumers want the most is they want AI not just to be a technology. They want it to be helpful. They want it to be useful. They want it to be assistive in everyday life. And I think some of the things we showed today are exactly that. Starting to change the conversation from technology to how it actually can assist me on a day-to-day basis. One of the conversations I recently had with Gemini Live was all about a used car that I was looking to purchase.
Right.
And I was asking it questions about what are the things I should worry about, what are the questions I should ask for the mechanic.
Right.
Help me. And it took what ordinarily would have been an hour-long set of research down to 5 minutes, and I had my list. That's pretty useful. That's pretty helpful. I think this is the kind of stuff that consumers really care about.
A big focus today on privacy as well, and that's something we want to see with responsible AI development. Is that something that we've been working on here with the Gemini teams and Android as well? Because with that open source sort of nature come a bunch of things when you need to apply filters to privacy, security. That has to be key when you're integrating AI into the Android ecosystem.
Well, look, Android's always focused on privacy and security. It's always been a hugely important thing for our consumers, and so we've prioritized it. Of course, for you to have a truly go-to personal assistant that you talk to about anything in your life, your information needs to be private and secure. And so one of the advantages that Google has, we believe in doing this, is we've invested in AI over decades. And as a result, we have a full stack of technology, everything from optimizing AI on the device all the way up to the cloud.
Right.
And so the ability for you to ask those personal questions and for Gemini to handle the answers right within Google's full stack and not send your data off to any third-party AI provider that you may not know or trust is a really big deal.
The Pixel Fold is coming to India, and the foldables race is really hotting up in India. How important do you think it is to make that announcement, because foldables are really the flavor of the season even back home in India? And how difficult was it for you to really change and adapt the OS, Android, for a foldable? This is second generation,
That's right.
But I'm guessing there were lessons learned, and this is the finished product.
Yeah, well, I'm super excited about the new Fold. I mean, I loved the first one. The first one really felt to me like one of the first foldables where when you had the screen closed, it was a phone. It felt like a phone as opposed to feeling like some different new kind of device. And this device builds on that. You know, the new Pixel Fold has an outer display and aspect ratio that just when you have it closed, it's so thin and light, makes you feel like you're just using an ordinary phone. But when you open it up, it has the largest internal display of any foldable. So I'm just having a great time with it.
And if you're on the Fold, and we know it has one of the biggest displays out there, especially here in the US, when you're really in your downtime phase, when you want to just zone out, is it that you switch it all off if you're using the Fold? What's that one piece of content? Is it Hollywood or Bollywood that you watch on the Pixel Fold?
Well, if my wife and I are going to watch together, it's definitely Bollywood. If my son and I are going to watch together, then it's definitely something on YouTube. So it's good for all these purposes, and everyone in the family can enjoy it.
Absolutely. Simi, what a pleasure to have you with us. Just before we do wrap up, there's one thing I do want to understand. When we talk about so much of the leadership here in the US for big tech companies, we see a lot of them coming from countries like India. And every time someone asks us on our shows saying, what's that secret sauce? Would you have any sort of views you'd like to share on that? Because I find it fascinating. I know that we come from a culture of diversity, inclusion, and jugaad, and the hustle culture is lively and active. But what is that real reason that there are a lot of people from that side of the world come here to the US and achieve great success?
You know, I was born here in the US. I can tell you that my mom and dad came here when they were much younger, and I think that the society in India gave them so many values and so many elements that they passed on to me that I feel have deeply contributed to me being where I am today. And I believe that the diversity in India contributes directly to the success of all of us abroad.
What an absolute pleasure having you on Tech Today, and we hope to see you the next time in India, maybe catch a Bollywood movie with you as well.
That would be great.
Cheers.
Thanks.